If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell to be notified of future videos. Thank you. Hello everyone, welcome back here to Legacy. I must tell you I've got people here with some 32 battalion members tell me it's the 18. And I think it's the best if they introduce themselves. Steve, shall we start with you?
Thanks, Chris, and thanks for orchestrating this and for the guys for joining. It's beautiful. Yeah, we're a band of merry men that haven't spoken in years, but I'm a ex-Air Force flight engineer, and I know the rest of the three monkeys sitting around the screen here very, very, very well. We met way back in the in Bloemspruit, where we started our little tour together and had a very good Air Force career, and we touched sides on many occasions. But yeah, interesting career, interesting life, and enjoyed every minute of it. And I hand over to Nellis.
Hi, nice to see you guys again. Angela and I have regular contact, but Steve, good to see you, and Eugene as well. We haven't seen each other for a while. I was a pilot in the Air Force, helicopter pilot most of the time helicopter pilot. Spent some time up in the border area flying Alouette helicopters as a flight commander, and that's where this band of ours came together with one particular operation called Operation Super. And you know, one thing in the Air Force, well, I suppose it's the same in any military, once you start getting together, you never lose contact. You know, you might not see each other for 20 years, but then it's like we saw each other yesterday. It's a great camaraderie, we're a family. Angela was with me on the squadron. Steve was my flight engineer on many occasions. In fact, very few flight engineers wanted to fly with me. Steve was one of them, but then Steve was a bit doff anyway. And then Eugene also flew with me, but then Eugene chose Angela because I think Angela used to criticize me quite a lot, but it's okay. We still work together. We managed to have some very successful operations, and we still talk. Anyway, over to you, Angela.
As Neil and Steve have mentioned, and Eugene, I was part of the Air Force, but I've left the Air Force a long time ago, and I don't really look back all that much. It was a pleasant time, but I'm a forward looker. I don't look back a lot, and I don't delve in the past. So you must pardon me if I don't speak too much about it. I do have a photograph of all four you buggers up here in my pub. It's very close by, just at the back there. And some of the Puma Oaks. But as for these four people, or as the other 75% of the 100% of Op Super, it's flipping bloody nice to see you guys again and to hear your voice. And I can't see Eugene, I just see his face every now and then come up on the screen, so I hope he's listening. Yeah, and that's it. My history with the Air Force is almost the same as Neil's and almost the same as Eugene and Steve, other than I flew fixed wings half my life and helicopters the other half. And on finishing my medium service out of the Air Force, I don't think I've looked back all that much. Yes, I know of 3-2 battalion, and I know people inside there, but I don't actively look them up. So I'm probably a black sheep of the family as far as that's concerned, if there's a family. And that's it. I'm quiet as far as as far as the history goes. Next one.
Hi, it's me, most probably.
Hi, Eugene.
Hi, my ace pilot. How are you doing?
yeah, for that comfort.
Yeah, so yeah, well, obviously, I first met you guys at Bloomspruit. I joined the Air Force in 1977. It's always been my will to, or I wanted to fly all my life. And yes, from there we started. Op Super was, I think, the highlight. It was my first actual big contact. And I can remember, Angelo, the day we went out with the recce's, I started shooting and you actually asked me, Eugene, what are you doing? And I said, no, well, I saw something on the ground. Yes, and that's where Op Super started. That was my first contact. I was very proud, and I'm still very proud of it. And it's awesome seeing you guys. It's yes, and yes, my career went much further in the Air Force as a flight engineer. I finished on 41 years service. In 2017, I decided I've had enough. I was still young at that stage. I'm still young at this stage. And it's awesome to see you guys. I finished off at then, and I've gone into a bit of civilian flying as a flight engineer. And I still do the anniversary of Op Super because that was one of my, or the highlight in my whole career as a flight engineer, flying with Angelo Maranta, as Neil Ellis, the gunship ace. I've read the books, and the Kortgat Steve could see her. Yes, so it's nice seeing you guys.
Eugene, are those the guys that landed in the middle of the operation to see if they can play Dan Pienaar a little bit?
Yes, yeah, well, we won't go there, but we landed in the middle. And if you can remember, we were flying 117. You were the ace pilot, me the blauwgat engineer, but which is fine. That's where I picked up all my experience. And Angela, if you can remember, we got actually nailed through the tail boom, just missing the tail rotor, drive shaft.
Yeah, I remember that. I also remember that we also were flying on fumes when we were doing top cover for these two fuckers that were in the middle of the ops area.
That's correct. Yes, we were covering their butts. We were covering their asses. But that's what we did. That's what we did. But
now you got to hear the truth from our side, okay? You got to hear the truth from our side as well, okay?
Yeah.
Because Nellis had a big piss on board, and he just couldn't hold it anymore.
Thank you. That's what it's about. It's about a piss.
Yeah, yeah. And then I joined him.
So why didn't you go to the refueling part and go and refuel while you are doing this?
Because I told him if he pisses in my aircraft, he's going to have shit in his hands.
There was a time we were having too much fun. Anyway, it was too far. And there's no piss tube in the Alouette. It's only the ground. We're helicopter pilots. We're not fixed wing pilots.
It was the most hysterical situation and probably the most scary situation. Nellis is standing pissing this side. I'm pissing this side. And the RPG comes flying across the trees. There's two of us on our knees still pissing. That was quite interesting. It's the first time in my life that I've seen an Alouette actually take off backward. It went straight up and on its tail and then turned around and was off.
I can remember something that Neil said. We were over the contact when we picked up the SAMs and the RPGs, and I think it was Paula Creer, the Puma commander. They came right over the contact area, and he said, "Where must we land?" And I think Neil, you can help me. He said, "Listen, just get the fuck out of it, fly straight over because you're right in the middle of the contact." Something to that effect. Yeah.
Yes,
and all hell just burst loose, and we just, we let rip.
Neil, if I can just go back a bit. We all were in the dark. I think you were the first because it was early in the morning and the sun was in a funny position, and we went in there and we were circling right over the contact area and we couldn't see anything. And then I think you or Steve spotted through the camo, and you said they're just below us. There's fucking hobbles of oaks below us.
Correct.
It was Steve. It
And
was Eagle Eye.
that's when the first SAM-7 went off, and then everybody knew where we were.
Yeah, it was Eagle Eye Steve, because we were circling that area, and we couldn't find anything. And
you said,
I said, there's funny rocks there, and Steve, those aren't rocks. Those are bivvy tents. And then it just sort of like everything just opened up, and you could see the legs, and then the people crawling and moving out. But it was Steve that picked that up. Yeah.
I'm sitting with this itchy finger of mine, and I'm thinking, I'm going to shoot. And Nella says, hold it. So I'm going to shoot. He says, hold it.
Well, I just let rip.
As Eugene mentioned the day before, when he just started shooting, when the first SAM-7 went off, he didn't need an invite. I just saw the SAM-7 just like that, and I just heard the 20mm bullets going down the smoke shaft.
Unless you remember,
I've still got the photograph of those. I've still got the photograph of them lying on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah. You remember Wally Haldane when they were trapped after Nella was hit, and he was trying to discuss with Dracula what was going on, and the next minute he came on the radio screaming to you, "Can you see us? Can you see our day glow?" And I was busy taking out the gooks on the hill right across the ravine over there, about 20 meters away from them, and they thought we were shooting them.
That is because I've had a lot of contact with old Kenny Schwartz. He and I see each other regular.
Yeah.
And that was a time when Kenny got trapped. Well, he got pinned down by the gooks. And
That's
they were 5 meters away, and you were shooting. And you took out those gooks, and old Kenny thought he was going to die.
That's right.
I said, listen, pal, you got a choice. Either keep still or you die. And if we hit you, you were going to die anyway. But he's living. And he hasn't forgotten that. I'll tell you what, Kenny still reminds me about that day. But that was part of it, really. But it was a scientifically, what's the word I'm looking for? It was a very scientific method of taking out people that are lying 5 meters away from you and using a 20mm high explosive shell. We knew
with a 5 meter killing radius.
Most definitely.
Yeah. Now, Angela, I just want to sort of expand a little bit. You can blame me for orchestrating this whole maneuver because I really wanted to get the band back together. I wanted to get the band back together so we could just look at each other's faces and recall the funny stories, because the reunions and all those type of things, it's not prevalent. It's the people that you knew. And it was important for me to be able to just sit down and talk about what it is that we experience from a funny perspective, a round table of funny stuff, because I think it's good to laugh at the seriousness of life. And as you say, go forward, look forward all the time.
You know what the funny part is? You know when we were living in the Marienfluss?
Yeah.
And you wanted to be private, and when you see a guy walking with a spade over his shoulder and a roll of toilet paper in his hand, going over the dune and walking until he's as flippant and small as an ant and hiding behind there somewhere, then I never knew what these people were busy doing, because it was kind of scary.
I've still got the photograph of Neil sitting with his blue and white umbrella next to the chopper tent in the flush. I've still got that photograph. Yeah.
But he said he's sleeping closest to the enemy because he was closest to the Kunini.
Neil, tell us about.
You guys remember when the imps came into the wrong valley?
Yeah. Now I want to actually take it back a bit. Neil, remember the night that we were waiting and monitoring when the wreckers were tracking that group of tours that were in the mountains, and it was
Yes.
full moon.
Yes.
We just wanted to go and fly that night. Remember that episode?
The night before, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
when the vehicle hit the landmine, yeah. And then we
That
knew.
was-
And then
yeah,
we
it
knew
was beautiful.
the sports are going to happen.
Yeah, I was really keen to get that freaking aircraft up in the air that day. That's for sure.
But hold on. But the thing is, remember, we still had to go do a recce down the beach to go and get some mussels and do some fishing. So there's
There
no
you
way
go.
to join in a war. I mean, pleasure comes first. I mean, you can't just sort of go.
First, weet jy hoe vasvang hierdie ouens?
Yeah, for sure.
Hulle vat 'n Puma en 'n Padmore
The
60
guys throwing the hand grenades into the
motor en gaan hulle na die dan skiet hulle uitjie in die vlak water in, dan spoel die branders al die visse in. Dis visvang in die
That's right.
kamer.
Well, at least we got something.
'n verskillende
what-
manier van visvang.
So what's wrong? What's wrong with that? Huh?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? It's the only time in my career that I've actually had sunburn on my balls.
Steve. Now come now, enlighten us on sunburn on your balls. What is that?
Well, I had to strip down to go try and catch those fish because it was so bloody cold.
I'm glad you said you had sunburn on your balls and you didn't have sunburn anywhere else because it was probably so cold. It became like a tortoise.
Oh, you
There you
boasting,
go.
Steve.
We must, for Chris's benefit, we need a bit of a timeline here. So I'm just going to briefly give us a timeline. I was sitting at Ondangwa. Neil was the permanent pilot, and I usually go on a Mofi tour. I go for 2 weeks or a month, and I come there and I'm sitting at the bungalows. Neil says, "Do you want to go on a holiday?" So I said, "Yeah, I've got nothing to do." So he said, "We're going to the Marienfluss," and we packed our bags and we went off to the Marienfluss. And Eugene and Steve obviously were part of the makeup. So we go to the Marienfluss and we go over these beautiful mountains past the Pupa Falls and the Zebra Mountains, and we go over the mountains to the Marienfluss, and there's a solitary windsock there, and the windsock is dilapidated. It's been there for 533 years and there's not much material left. And we landed there and we put up camp. That was the first day, and we kind of messed around there, and if I'm correct, and you guys must correct me, then the guys came and the tents were put up, etc. And then we got this call out and the vehicle hit the landmine. And we also went and bathed in the Kunini with one guy standing there one guy standing with an R4 and an R5 to look out for the flat dogs that roam in the Kunini. So we kind of bathed in the shallow water, etc. And then once this op started, all these things about fishing and sunburn in very serious spots, that came afterwards, because after the op, it started raining, if you can remember correctly, and we got the 7 dae gras, and the 42 troops from the ground troops went and shot a zebra out of a Puma. I don't know who pulled the trigger. You remember that?
Yeah.
We had a bit of fillet because the chickens that they came and offloaded. They offloaded a frozen chicken at 8 o'clock in the morning, and about 12 o'clock it was full of Myers. So it was a bit of a hard time. And thereafter it just became ops.
100%, Angelo. That's how it all initiated. And then when we both choppers went up into the mountains just to go and have a recce about where the base was, and we came back and Nellis and I hit a downdraft, and we went a little bit in the cuck. And Nellis was pulling horsepower to try and get out of it. And you guys were about 200 foot above us, right out of the downdraft. Remember that, Nellis?
I remember things, but I forget things very easily these days. Maybe it's because of the people that are associated with. Sometimes you have bad memories, so you just divorce them out of your mind. Now you can talk, but you're bringing back memories, young Steve. I'm very happy to hear about these bad habits of mine coming to the fore. Carry on.
No, it was quite an interesting scenario, but we got spat out at the end of the thing right into the flush. And we were pretty happy to get out of that. I remember that very clearly. But the whole concept of the Marian Flush was it was a beautiful place. And from my perspective, I'd love to go back there again someday. And it wasn't, unfortunately, for Angelo's misinformation, didn't turn out to be a holiday because it became quite an interesting active airfield with fuel drops and C-130 flybys and DACs and extra Pumas. And
Pumas,
but
that's after the shit was caused, eh?
That's right, yeah. We went in the first time to go and hit that group that the Reckies bumped into. And then we got a bunch of captures out of that confirmed where the base was for Op Super. And then the pre-planning went into Super from that point on.
But the planning, there wasn't a day in between, if I can remember correctly. They got that army major who did the interrogation, and they built the captures built the base in the Marienfluss sand.
Yeah.
The army major was Henk Kutsia.
No, that's correct. Yes.
A wonderful person, great man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
lovely chap.
Married to a ballet dancer. He looked like something out of the zombie movies, But anyway, he was a good man.
Eugene. Hallo Eugene.
Yes.
Onthou jy toe ons
Yes.
amper met teruggaan het ons daai flip en cash opgespoor? Waar ons oor die cash gery het en toe ons weer teruggaan.
Ja, ek kan nie kyk. Ja.
Toe kon ons die flip en cash nie weer kry nie. Onthou jy dit?
Ja, ek kan onthou.
And that turned out to be a
flipping
huge cash.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, when they blew that lot, it sounded like an atomic bomb going off.
Yeah. The stuff was packed against the mountains, if you can remember, the RPGs and etc.
I think the ammo was the big thing there with all those, the sort of anti-personnel, the mines, first of all, the mines and then anti-personnel grenades. And of course.
And the landmines, there was hordes of landmines, right?
Yeah. That was the thing that caused that great big bang. That was very nice. That was quite exciting.
Oh, not the 150 tons of rice.
Yeah, but remember, what was interesting? That came from the World Food Program. That rice.
That's right.
Was for the World Food Program, supposed to be for refugees, and has been delivered to terrorists, to feed terrorists. So what's the United Nations? What side is the United Nations on in these conflicts?
Correct,
yeah. Anyway, let's not get into politics now.
Transported by the Dutch to Africa.
Yeah, but that went in at Mosamsh. What's the name these days? Because the bags still had they came by ship, the rice bags.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Anyway, there was something else. Eugene, ons kan nie vergeet hoeveel keer ons flip en rook in daai gully ingegooi het om vir die flip en 4 Impalas 'n rook te gooi nie, nê? Kan jy onthou?
Yeah, we emptied just about all our smoke grenades from both choppers.
Okay, Angelo, can you remember in the one cliff we went up with the snipers or whatever? I can't really remember. And we couldn't trace them in the beginning, and then we spotted them and took them out. Can you remember that in that one big gully?
The one big gully where we went in about 10 times, and every time we go in there, we just see all the grey smoke from the RPGs being shot. Yes, I remember.
That was it. That was the one. That was the one.
Yes, and Neil Ellis and Steve are having a holiday
And
doing
we had to cover
first a lift per year from flipping a safe distance, and we were there being shot at all the time.
Yeah, but hold on.
You're so correct. You're so correct. And it's
Yeah,
even
that-
mentioned in Neil's analysis book.
But stand by. Give me a chance now. Remember one thing. We've got the Junior Space Club coming to go and drop bombs onto this base. Now, the Junior Space Club...
That was napalm that they were supposed to have, eh?
Well, something like, I can't remember, bombs, napalm...
It was
whatever.
napalm. They were carrying napalm,
And
if
in
I
fact-
remember correctly.
And in fact, I'll never forget the comment that was made by the leader of the formation. He says, "Are you guys in the right valley? So we're in
Yes.
the right contact."
Yes.
And
But that was
what I said,
Bartlett.
well, the place is burning, there's blood flowing, there's fire, there's shots going off. So I'm sure we're in the right valley. Just come this way. And then they said,
Oh, well, that
that was
was the
interesting.
conclusion that the war was in the wrong place.
Yeah.
That was, Angela, you got it right. They just, at one stage, I think it was on Banks's bar, when the imps guide said, we just got back. And they said, shit, the gunships were in the wrong valley. They were at the wrong wall. Something like that.
Yeah, that was moeilijk, nee. Charlie Bent was part of the crowd there. I think he fought the war on his own.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Could you guys do a guy coming jogging out of the distance? And Charlie used to go jog in the morning. Can you guys
Correct.
remember that?
Yeah.
It was early morning, and this old man came jogging towards, and I think somebody gave him a tin of I think it was apricot jam or something. And he actually asked Charlie, "What are you doing?" And he said, "No, he was jogging." And then he ran and he came back, and the guy says something, "Do you want to go again?" I can't really remember the whole story, but yeah, it was an old man.
yeah, I gave him a tin of spinach. It wasn't jam, it was a tin of spinach.
Yeah.
That's fine, man.
Popeye the Sailor Man.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
No, I don't know. Charlie was
And one
quite
thing I can still remember, when we went to go fetch water with the jerry cans with a Puma, and we were actually walking in the water, and there was that medic guy, and we saw I think it was the Mahimbas on the one side, and actually the Puma landed there at one stage, and somebody had malaria or whatever, and they actually rolled out a crocodile skin. I don't know if you can recall that. I don't know if anybody can remember that.
I can't remember, but what we can remember clearly is the initial part, the pre-battle and the battle, and the day or two in the aftermath, because thereafter it became a free-for-all, and all the big guys came in. I can remember taking Herman Potgieter in. Eugene, hy was in ons area gewees.
That's correct.
En ek het daar
That's correct. Yes, you're correct.
Ja, ek het daar op die wiel gesit. Ek het nog Leon Uris se Armageddon gelees op daai stadium. Ek het dit uit my sak uit my onderkantste overall sakkie uitgehaal, op die Ello se wiel gesit en flippend gelees, terwyl al die miljoene vliee en al hulle en die mense kom foto's neem met en al hulle kak uitsort. And the mock-up took a long time. And to Herman klaar is, he says, "Aren't you going to look?" So I said, "No, I know what there is. I don't have to go and look." En toe het ons hom maar weer teruggevat, en ek dink dis die laaste wat ons so toe gegaan het.
Dis so, ja. Ek het nog 'n waterborrel en 'n bajonet wat ek daar van een van die bots afgehaal het.
Ek
Wat
het
ek nou
ook 'n
nog by my
waterbottel hier, so hy's in my kombuis. Yeah, that's about it, nee.
Yeah, it was interesting times. I really, there was a lot of laughs there as well. Heck of a lot of laughs, but interesting
Steve, I
times.
think There was another laugh there. You weren't the guy that climbed out of the helo at the top of Cathedral Peak when Mr. Ellis and the Star, when Mr. Ellis shut down. I was sitting in the middle seat, and he shut down the Allo on top of Cathedral Peak on a flippin' slopey rock.
Yeah.
And you guys jumped out and said, "Are you jumping out?" So I said, "Not a fork." And I got out and I sat with my back against the cairn of rocks. And Neil jumped in the middle to start the helicopter, and I think it was Star journalists that asked, "Why am I sitting there?" So I said, "No, I'm waiting for this guy to start, because if he picks up ground resonance, he's gonna blitz him off Cathedral Peak, and there's nothing we can do about it. So I'm gonna wait until he's got revs." Were you the engineer, if I can remember correctly?
I think you're right. I think you're right, because there was a couple of those episodes that took place, like the one where we signed the mountain climbers logbook at top of the bell as well. And we were chastised terribly for that. I don't know if you were involved in that one, Nellis.
No, I wasn't involved in that, but somebody that was another driver.
Yeah, that was also good fun. Those mountain climbing days were really good fun. We had a good time there.
Oh yes, definitely. There was good times there.
But that's why we were such good helicopter pilots, such good helicopter crews.
Yeah.
Because we had good training, and we were allowed to make our own decisions. We could go out and do things. I remember as a chopper pilot, when I first qualified as a chopper pilot, we used to go for these Dacha raids, which nowadays is called Marawana down in the Zululand. And the guy
and there's some people that have licenses for these things these days.
Yeah.
I've got to learn to smoke it though. Still got to get there. But anyway, I remember like the OC of the base or the ops coordinator would just say, "Right, here's your little book to go and buy fuel at the farmers co-ops."
Yeah.
And then just go there and so just phone us once a week. Give us the hours and that, and do your own thing. And nowadays, the helicopter pilots, if they blink, they've got to report back to base. They cannot do anything. But we were given a helicopter as a young second lieutenant or lieutenant, go off and do your thing, and if you cause cuck, just take responsibility for it. That's it.
Yeah,
it was so wonderful about those days. We could make decisions. We could interact with the people. I remember on the way down to Zululand, and if we were hungry, we would land next to a garage and pick up a hamburger and a Coke.
That's right.
And then carry on, because we were allowed to do that. We were responsible people. I mean,
we were very responsible. We went to Riemvasmark, and Graham Locke was there with a Freelon, and I was the Allo driver doing things for the G6 and the G5 that were shooting 100 flippin' Ks away. and I was tasked to go and do a responsible thing, like land next to the bottle store and pick up 20 cases of flippin' beer and bottles of brandy and shit like that, and fly it at night along the river to the Freelon. I couldn't miss the Freelon because they had flippin' lights and Christmas lights and things like that, and it was full moon, and you had a silver river, and you could land there, and you land and you only leave the next day.
Very responsible.
Very
responsible.
Very responsible.
The fact is that you drink all night and then kick the tires, light the fires, means you're responsible.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Most definitely.
There's a rule about drinking and smoking near helicopters. You don't smoke 8 hours before you fly, and you don't drink within 30 meters of your helicopter.
There we go.
I'll give it that, Steve.
Helicopter, you're so right. You're so right.
Eugene, net voor daai ops of net na daai ops, en ek kan nie, dis hoekom ek probeer onthou en wat 'n opset dit was. Ek dink dit was na dit was hier by Smoke Shell, because I think it was helicopter 24. Net die ding reggemaak en Soutie was die ingenieur gewees. Want die eerste keer wat ek saam met Soutie gevlieg het, ek dink dit was na jou, toe gaan ek na die vliegtuig toe en ek doen die pre-flight en sulke goed en ek sien 'n kabel hang hier agter op die van die een deur na die ander deur, en daar was M26 handgranate met witvosse wat so die hele flip en plek vol hang, en agter was daar 'n kas van die bierglase wat uit die kroeg uitkom, 'n nuwe boks.
Ja.
En ek sien 'n ou voeter daarso by my vliegtuig. Ek sê, "Hey, wat doen jy?" Hy sê, "O, shit, is jy ek was 'n kaptein op daai stadium." Hy sê, "Is jy Cappy?" Ek sê, "Ja, Soutie, dis ek." Ek sê, "Wat doen jy by my vliegtuig?" Hy sê, "Nee, dis my vliegtuig." Hy sê, "O, fok, ons vlieg alweer saam." Hy sê, "Vir hoe lank is jy hier?" Ek sê, "Soutie, net vir 2 weke. Ek kom altyd op 'n moffie toer, want Ellis en Arthur Walker, hulle kan nie die gooks kry nie. Ons kry die gooks tussen ek en Davis en wie ook al altyd sulke goed opgespoor." En ek sê vir Soutie, "En vir hoe lank bly jy?" Hy sê, "Nee, Cappy, vir 2 maande." Hy sê, "Maar daar's daarom 'n groot voordeel. Voordat ek bos toe gegaan het, is ek en my vrou weer on speaking terms." So ek sê, "Hoe so?" Hy sê, "Nee, ek het by die huis gekom van 17 Eskader af en ek het gesê, 'Love you, I'm going to the bush.' And she said, 'Yes, fuck off.'"
It's like when he has passage checks as well. In the passage, he tells him to pop off.
Anyway, RIP all those nice people, eh?
Yeah.
You know, I was so to his side, and you know, he's an amazing person. I'm not sure if he's still alive.
No, he's dead.
He's
Passed
not.
on.
No, he passed away, yeah.
Is it? What an amazing person, really.
Definitely.
It was an absolute pleasure to be with him. Different man, but what a pleasure.
Salt of
to
the
be
earth.
His life, eh?
with him.
I saved his life. From Ruakana, he got so drunk, he didn't put the cannon barrel in. And we took off, I think Mark Lomberg was still there. We took off back to Ondangs, and I said to Soutie, it was a Sunday afternoon. And just before sunset, we headed back to Ondangs. So I said to Soutie, waar the fuck is jou kanonloop? He'd forgotten to put his barrel in the gun. So I thought, it doesn't really matter at this stage of the game. And I said, "Oh, fuck." En hy kyk, maar dit was die twee loop het mos daar agter onder in die Allows agtermuur gesit. En Soutie nearly fell out of the flipping airplane.
Good
If I
grief.
didn't bank very hard to push him back. Eugene, onthou
Yes.
jy toe ons vir ou Nella gaan optel het en hom daar by die fuel afgegooi het? Hallo?
Yeah, I think he's stuck again. Tell us the story, Angela.
Nella had got a bullet through the front of his forehead. So
Yes.
Eugene and myself went down and we went and picked him up and we took him back and dropped him off where Andre Skuman and there was 1 or 2 drums of fuel, the first drums of fuel, and we dropped him off there. Onthou jy dit? Eugene? Ek kan jou gesig sien.
He's in and out.
That's correct. Ja. Yes, ek kan dit onthou. Ja, ek kan dit onthou.
Yeah, so young lighty, and it's just one moment and gone the next.
Gone the next. Yeah, I can remember.
Yeah. Still think of that quite a lot. Hello?
Nella was he was a damn good soldier, you know, and it's very sad that he died. But I mean, we lost a couple of guys there.
Nellis, I concur with you, you know, I mean, Phil, Nella, awesome chaps. I mean, the night before the operation, we were drinking beers and talking and having a lot of kerfuffs about a lot of things, you know, and you make good friendships with these people and not even expecting the results the next day. So, you know, these are things that you look back on often and you think about them and you just wonder what the guy's life would have been like today. Probably as old and ugly as we are today, I suppose.
I'll speak for yourself.
Oh, face.
When last you look in the mirror, young man?
I'll give you guys a photo.
Okay, I'm back.
Looks like you're in the toilet.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. There was the one effort where we were, oh, there we go. Oh yes, that one we've got.
Okay, that one hangs pretty close. Neil knows where it is.
Yeah, good stuff.
So there were a lot of handsome young guys there, but at the moment I just see a fucking bunch of old cronies.
Yeah, we were young, slim, trim bundles of health in those days.
Young and restless.
Young and restless. Yeah, what's that? Young and brave. There we go.
There you go. Yeah, I'm just thinking of the one poor gook who was running away down the road on the first contact with the reckies, and I plastered a HE in his back, and the RPG rockets all went off. It looked like Guy Fawkes for the day.
Oh my goodness, Steve could say we're supposed to have relaxed about these things what happened in those days.
I was thinking of Guy Fawkes, you know. Oof.
Oh. Remember the 5th of November. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Oof.
Oh my goodness gracious me. Anyway.
Onthou jy, was jy in daai al there were thousands of tins up in the mountains, up in the rocks. Danish pork.
Ja.
Ons het daai goed, ons het vir ure daarso gesit en die flippin gaatjies in die blikke ingesteek, né?
Ja, ek kan onthou, ja.
Ja.
But then we didn't take the tins away. They weren't blown up either. Because what happens, if you put a hole in that tin, it contaminates, you get all your botulus or stuff, bacteria coming into the tin, and then the guys can either eat it and die or die of starvation. So it's one of those things that happen,
Yeah.
Oh, life is hard in the tropics, eh?
Terrible.
Yeah, but there was a lot of ammo in them high hills, eh?
That's for sure.
No, let's face it. Those guys, that operation, you know, from the SWAPO side, I mean, the logistics that they brought down, and the logistics, you know, that's the equipment or the ammunition that we destroyed, food and ammunition that we destroyed, I think was a big surprise to a lot of people. Yeah. I don't think anybody expected that the SWAPO could organize like that. Now, whoever organized for them, whether they do themselves, doesn't matter. That's not the issue here. The issue is that they had a lot of equipment, and if they'd have succeeded in their operation, they would have created havoc, because it was spread out, you know, our forces would really have been spread out right throughout of then Namibia now, then Southwest. Yeah, crazy, unbelievable.
But you know, Neil, we look at it today, and when we have a look at the Ukraine and look at what Russia's up to, etc. Russia hasn't changed its spots from all those years. The Lenins and the Stalins have always been there, and now we might have the Putins as well. The same thing, the same principles of finance, the same principles of warfare, etc., still remains valid today. And throughout Africa, in essence, that's what we fought against, the spread of communism, because communism was a real threat going into Europe, into Spain, Italy, Germany, the Bader-Meinhof, and all those people. People tend to forget that that's what it was. and going into Africa, like Libya, extending down into Khartoum and those places. The world's always been at war, and the world's always been a threat, and this was our part in a small sense. We didn't understand the big picture, but in actual fact, we had a role to play in the big picture.
Definitely.
Xavier?
Nice. I mean, just help him with that mouth of his. It's a bit open.
I think it was on that day at Super which you people ran out of ammunition, I believe, or you had to reload.
Oh, you mean the time that
Hey, I'm having a hard time here.
the time that Nellis was busy chatting to the impilers to try and find out which valley that they got lost in. And I said to him, Nellis, let me put it right. We've got to have a bit of respect here. Captain, we're running out of ammo. Yes, just hang on, Steve, I'm just busy. I said, okay, fine. I've got a couple of rounds, but then he was already on the radio, so I kept quiet. I said, the warning light's going to go on for fuel. Yes, Steve, I just want to make sure that these guys are coming. And then he carries on the radio. And the next minute, I see this gook stand up over here. So I grab him and I black him with 2 rounds. And Nellis rocks that chopper up to the right and away. He says, are we shot? Are we shot? Are we shot? No, sir. I've just taken out some gooks over here.
Hey, my goodness. Thank you very much, Steve, for that input. But remember, some of us have to manage the situation.
I was pretty happy on that whole occasion. I was very trigger happy.
I don't have blood on my hands. I've just been talking.
Yeah.
Well, Eugene, if you manage the situation, surely you can find a flippin' better place to have a pee than inside the middle of the flippin' ops area.
That was strategic, man. That was strategic. You know,
we had to go. Listen, when a dog goes for a pee, the dog looks for a tree. That was the only big tree we could find. Now, if it's right in the middle of the sort of...
there was 5 million flippin' trees in the southern part of Angola at that stage.
That was the prettiest looking tree. We wanted that tree.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, that was the prettiest looking tree. Plus, remember one thing. The army was scurrying around underneath that tree. They were hiding underneath that tree. So we came to show the military or the army, the ground jobs or whatever you want to call them, that we are young and brave and we can land anywhere and show the gooks that we are capable of doing what we want to do.
Ja,
Eugene, het was net goed dat ons nie sonder petrol gaan sit het terwyl hulle daaronder was nie, want ons was baie naby nie.
Yeah, we had to cover their butts. Well, let's call it their butts.
Well, let's thank you
Get
very
them
much.
out of the shit.
But I must say one thing. But when that RPG exploded on the trees, I really shat myself. Really. Because
So did you go there for a pee or otherwise? Number 1 or 2?
well, I wouldn't say that my underpants were soiled, but it was very close. It was really close. But let's face it, it just shows how we can get that Alouette going and get back in the air after that incident.
But you know, Nelson, when he goes to war, uses brown corduroys, eh?
Well, we didn't have, we had green overalls that became brown.
Brown and heavy.
But seriously, if I may ask you people a question, yeah, that I'm speaking as a layman, I really don't know. But what happens if an Allo runs out of fuel? Is it like a Casper, you know, which runs out of fuel? It's a diesel pump, you stand and pump that thing there for a while. Or can you just refill it like a car and start it up?
Of course, if an Allo runs out of fuel, it's like a car. The engine stops. And in a car, you grind to a halt on the road. In an Alouette, you go straight to the ground. And you might crash or you might not. Okay, but to answer your question, You just put fuel in the tank and carry on going. That's it. No problem.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
it's got fuel, you just burn it and go. And if it doesn't want to start, then there are various mechanisms you use to start it. There's ways
Yes.
of jippoing an Alouette to start no matter what you look at. You can manipulate the fuel starting cycle. You can manipulate the starting device. You can manipulate the...
Listen, if you have an engineer sitting at Ruakana, Steve, if you have 2 engineers sitting at Ruakana that are bored, and the one says, oh, the one Puma engineer, this was Mike Lomberg's Puma engineer, says, I will put a snag on an Alouette and you won't find it. That Soti says, I'll find the snag. That I had the 2 engineers around that Alouette for a couple of hours, and both of them couldn't find the snag after a while.
Actually, Soti and I got in a competition like I did on Dangwa, and then we ended up in trouble because we grabbed 2 aircraft. Yeah.
How good was this Alouette?
Sorry, Chris?
How good was the Alouette? I mean, if you look back now, was that the right helicopter for the time?
That wasn't the right helicopter. It was the only helicopter, but was it the best aircraft for it? It was adapted. I think it was well adapted for the type of warfare that we put it into. It was misused on a couple of occasions, but I think in the type of war that we developed, it was perfect. It was really perfect.
Even today, it'd be perfect if you use it well.
Correct. It's the application. That's the application. I mean, there are ways and means to apply what tools you've got to your hands to be able to make something work. And I don't think the Alouette never let anyone down. Definitely not. If you put it in the wrong place, it's gonna break. Yeah, it's just one of those things. So it's like that with any of the tools.
Exactly. Yeah, never.
Yeah, interesting story about young Soti again. Him and I were playing rockets at
No, definitely. Well said, Steve.
Yeah, Soti and I were playing rockets at Ondangwa. There was the time that the rear engine bearing of the Alouette, the Artus 3B, is the same size bearing as they had in the F1 Mirages. And the F1 Mirage's motor runs at 8,000 RPM, and the Alouette runs at 33,500 RPM. So there is definitely a difference between the bearings, but they'd mistakenly put this in at Denal Aviation, and they didn't know which aircraft it was because they had a seizure. So the aircraft were grounded. So Soti and myself were sitting in the hangar and drinking beer because we were bored. And we decided we were going to make rockets. So we took some masking tape, took some 303 rounds, took the stick cordite out, poured it into the masking tape, rolled it up in a stick, put it in a Coke bottle, lit it, and watched it go up. Looked very pretty. So we decided to do it again with some smoke powder. Broke a smoke can up, put it in, and made a beautiful smoke trail. And we're sitting outside the hangar at Ondangwa with the air traffic controller just across the road. So Soti walks over to the armorers and gets a little bit of ammunition over there, comes back with a 1,000-foot flare, strips the plastic off, cuts the 2 fads, makes a nice little funnel for it, and off it goes. Not loud enough. So he put some PE4 on the top, on the deck, and then once it went off at the top, I can't even recall who it was. The Walrus Major that was OC of Ondangwa at the time. Next minute he pulls me by my ear. He says to me, "What the hell are you two doing?" So Soti looks up like at me. He says to him, "Oh, we're just playing."
Yeah.
Good old days.
May I ask about that traffic light at your
Good
pop?
Lord, excellent.
Neil,
What traffic light, Chris?
Yeah, the traffic light, which I understand was at the pop somewhere there at Odangwa or something.
Oh, at Rundu.
Rundu.
Was it Rundu or Mapacha? Which one had the traffic light? That was Rundu. I think it was no, it was Mapacha. Mapacha had the traffic light. So if it was green,
it was Mapacha. Yeah, no, it was Mapacha.
Yeah, when it's green, the pub is open. When the light is amber, it's last round. And when the light is red, then it's
red. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, boy.
I see we lost both pilots.
No, that's normal. They've probably gone to the pub again. You know, the engineers will carry on holding the fort. You know, we'll probably have to clean up everything again, pick up all the CADs, you know, tidy the place up. There's one back again. Oh, hello, Nellis.
I'm glad we've got Mr. Nellis here, because I've heard something about him not about the helicopter being cleaned only on one side, something like that.
Oh yeah. Nellis, when he gets out of an aircraft and he runs off to the ops tent, and I say to him, "Hey, you must clean the sand out here." I'll be back now. Gets back in the aircraft and half of the freaking Angolan sand is in his aircraft. Hey, you must take the sand out. I'll be back. Off he goes. So at the end of the day, Nellis' side of the aircraft was dirty and my side was clean.
And so what happened? What was this all about now, Mr. Kutsia?
I don't know. There's other stories about freaking good grief. Now cheers. It's my middle morning here, so I can't say cheers to you guys properly. So I'll give you a coffee mug instead.
Listen, middle morning. Where you in British Columbia?
That is correct. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia.
So for fuck's sakes, man, you know the Canadians are all these softies that have all these things. You should have been hardened up by now. If you want a tequila at 6 o'clock in the morning, you drink it.
Oh, who says I haven't had it? I've got moonshine that I'm making, Mampur. 140% proof. Do you want a sip?
You talk about the Ukrainians and you talk about 100% proof. I had my family in Konotop in the Ukraine, and the guy that was running Motorsich, and that makes all the engines for all the flipping helicopters. He was at the plant at Konotop. We took 42 Mi-24s out of Konotop to give to a customer. And it was late in the afternoon, or late, it was 3 o'clock, but it was already dark. And I had my whole family there, and we went out on a Sunday, and ons het bietjie gekuier in the town, or the two cafes. And this is why I have such a soft spot for the Ukraine, because they're absolutely fantastic people. And around about 3-4 o'clock, we got back to what they call the hotel, which was basically 2 rooms and whatever. And there's a knock on the door, and Nikolai comes there, flashing his gold teeth, and he can hardly speak. He can hardly speak English, and I can hardly speak Russian. And he says, "My mother Sasha says you come 7 o'clock." So at 7 o'clock, we, the next door neighbors, and 5 of us are sitting around the small little table inside a kitchen in one of these flats that our Putin has just so politely bombed. And the next door neighbor also opens up a bottle, and he says, "Samagon." He says, "I made this myself. It's it's 80 degrees." He says, "You must be careful." So we kind of finished this liter bottle of Samagon, and that stuff that they make is daai Mampur is flippin' volt, man.
Yeah. I'm really glad to see everybody together. You know, I haven't seen you or spoken to you in God knows how many years, Angela. I think the last time I saw you was freaking in 96 or 97.
Yeah, it is so. Yeah, Steve,
Yeah.
we haven't spoken for a long time. You know, Eugene stays down the drag. I even don't speak to him. Although he runs 15 days a day, it's the fact that I can't catch him these days.
Yeah, Nellis, it was good
I
to
did a
meet
tour
up with
last year in Libya.
Say again, Chris, what you were saying there?
He's going away again.
I
No,
think
he
was
was in
Eugene
Libya.
talking.
You in Libya? Carry on, Eugene.
Back again.
Okay, while we
Chris?
wait for Eugene to
Yes,
come back.
I did a tour January, February last year in Libya with 3 L100s. The super involved in Sevilla. Can you hear me?
Go
Can you hear
ahead.
me? Yeah. We went to go fly for the bad boys, but it involved quite a couple of other people. And just getting back to that, we were with a lot of their own, let's call it Mampur or but vodka. But after about 2 nights, I said to them, listen, guys, I'm not going to touch this. I'm used to stir around, but this stuff is going to kill you. It's really going to kill you. And it's supposed to be a dry land. But yes, it was most enjoyable. We flew there for 2 months. It was really rough stuff. 2 nights was good enough. And I said, no. I don't want that stuff.
Yeah.
As jy baie van daai goed drink, dan los jy voetspore op die ceilings, né?
Or you burn very white for a long time.
Ek sien Koos, jy is Rebecca Kotse.
Ja, dis waar. Ek het 'n geslagsverandering gehad. En nooit groot geheim nie uitgevind. Nee,
Ja.
ek gebruik my vrou se internet. En
O,
daarom staan haar naam daar. Gewoonlik edit ek dit uit. Maar mag ek julle ouens vra, who's the best pilots in SAAF? Hoe die twee helikopter guys of wie is vlamgatte, hoe seem to say by al?
Any helicopter pilot is the best pilot. A jet jock is a converter, converts fuel into noise.
no, but Steve, in reality,
Yeah,
those
of
guys,
course. You go, Steve.
all the
You
SAAF
go.
guys have gone through pretty much the same training in hulle is flipping almal. If you send a guy solo, you must from an instructor's point of view, the criteria is: will you put your wife and children on board the aeroplane where this guy is busy
Correct.
flying? And if the answer is
Correct.
yes, he goes solo, whether he flies a Bosbok later or a transport later or a jet, doesn't matter.
You know, on previous discussions with Chris, you know, we reiterated that the training that we went through was of such a top standard that you produced the best aircrew that the world had ever actually seen. And I can, for one, attest to that, because all the training that I've went through has afforded me to be able to walk into any country and basically find work and get myself done there and then. The thing that was quite amazing to find out is that what we assume as standard practices to these guys is far too big. It's impossible for us to be so qualified. Yet it's the way we were, we were taught, the way we were trained. So no, I can attest to that. To me, the pilots that I operated with, there wasn't one that I was concerned about. They're all top notch.
Some land in conflict areas to have a wee next to a tree that's got lots of interesting facts, but
Outstanding.
Well, what can I say? You know, we're brothers in piss. I'll piss anywhere with you, Nellis.
Steve, my man, I tell you what, I will piss anywhere with you. What a pleasure. I think, we had some good times. If you look back at it, war can be traumatic. But in between the sort of, what do they say, the sort of the hours or the minutes of terror, we have lots of really good times. Man, we really bonded. And I remember I've got a picture of myself with you and you. I mentioned earlier that very few flight engineers will fly with me for quite a long time. And Steve, thank you very much. At least you trusted my capabilities. But then, of course, at times you were so fucking dumb, you just couldn't really understand what we were doing because I was too stupid to understand. But we had some good time. I've got a picture right there of what was some operation sitting down the middle. Pete Nell, you, Dick Paxton, with that American guy from 3-2.
I remember him.
Yeah. He was a good mate of mine. I saw him when I was in Afghanistan. He and I used to get together now and then. Geez, what's his name? Anyway, but I got a picture. There he's sitting there. At the end of the day's flying in a sort of little 3-2 TB, temporary base, and we're just having a beer because we always had a beer. And that was the most important thing. We could take a case, we had a helicopter, man. A helicopter, you can have a beer and you could wrap it up. And the nights were cold, so they got chilled and we wrapped them up in blankets. So the next evening we had a beer. Man, fantastic times, really fantastic times. I'll never forget that.
I concur. No matter how difficult the times were, no matter what the challenges were, there was always a time to sit down, relax, and chin wag about the shit that we got up to. And that was the fun.
But Neil, I take a bit of exception to the fact that you say we were dumb somewhere along the line. Steve, you remember who was that flippin' long? He was a commandant, an Air Force commandant who was chief of the ops room at Ondangs.
Oh, yes. Gosh, I can't remember his name, but I can see him right in front of my mind now.
I can see. And there was this big 1 in 50 ops map. And he says, you chopper pilots are guilty because we moaned about the 1 in 100 maps that we had to fly in Angola that were
Vertical cockroach.
Cockroach.
It's vertical cockroach, Colonel de Villiers.
Cockroach.
Vertical cockroach. That's it. Yeah.
Burn bridges. Give me the names into the stuff.
Vertical cockroach.
We said
Colonel de Villiers.
It is a
vertical cockroach. Yes.
He when we moaned about the maps, he said, you guys, when you go on ops, you can come back and you can redraw all the roads and the things on the map.
Vertical cockroach.
Hello?
Yeah.
Well, a vertical cockroach said you can redraw all, and the chopper pilots all came back and they put they're flying just above tree level, and they came back and they put 100 meters of road that side, 100 meters of road that side, and everybody came back, and all over the map there were these little short pieces of road all over the place.
Yeah.
I'll never forget one in briefing when we were sitting there. It's about a serious operation.
Yes.
This 1 in a million map spread out of the whole of Southwest Africa on Dongwa. What's the sector 10? And there's this intelligence officer that came especially from Moshikoti. I can't remember his name, but a brown job. And he says, Mana, the vyand is daar. Now, he puts his big hand, like a big, massive hand on this map and says, the vyand is daar. And the vyand is daar, there's a 60-kilometer radius or 60 nautical mile radius. The vyand is daar. Yalla, you must go and soak these owns. Go and look for these people. And you just start thinking, oh my goodness gracious me. What kind of intelligence are we listening to now? Oh, we used to, man, it was fun. But at least we had some fun. Mm.
Yeah.
That Lemon Norquia from Inanna, was he, Neil?
The pink pajamas. Pink pajamas. He was wearing pink. I'll never forget the one morning we came in there, we pitched up there. You know, I had a little leather hat with a badge of Lenin on it. And of course, I wouldn't wear an Air Force cap. And of course, because if you're wearing a military cap, then you have to salute. So I used to wear my little cap. Now, remember our Pik Botha, our then Minister of Defense, Prime Minister, whatever, President. No, not Pik, our Pivia. Whenever you walked around, the politicians used to doff their caps. So I thought, unfortunately, I'm a little bit anti-establishment. And I thought, why must I salute to all these?
You're 75 years too late.
But now, why must I salute to these? To me, they were idiots because they couldn't plan. So I used to walk around with this leather hat, floppy leather hat with a Lenin badge on it. Commandant, Major, Colonel. Man, I think people hated me.
Nellis, is that the same on your wall in Marian Flush?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same one. It's the same one.
And I still have that cap.
I've got one of those.
Unfortunately,
yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
I'm hoping that my ex-wife has still had it, because when my marriage ended and I walked out, I took my suitcase. But that cap, I didn't take it with me. And I'm really hoping that it's still around, because hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. And when we got divorced, I said, you may take everything. I walked out with my suitcase. But she said, I just look after my mementos, my books, and my tools for the garage. But she sold the house now, but I think she's been nice to me. You know, we still have a good communication. I think she still has that hat somewhere. I hope so, because that was magic. That hat, that made my day. You know, you wake up in the morning, you come to an operation, you see all these damn Cop2 commandants, army guys that have never been in the bush, and then you go, Mora Commandant. And you can see they were furious because there's this captain, lieutenant captain, not saluting like he should be saluting. Well, we had
What's the
fun.
relationship with the army in general?
With 3-2 and the Parabats, we are incredibly good. Well, particularly 3-2, the Reckies, of course. Let's not talk about the Reckies, but there was always a good relationship with the
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to tread on toes here, but there were two units that were really incredibly professional. That was the Reckies. 3-2, of course, they're the same level. Parabats, we had a good relation with Parabats. And then the rest of the army, we had a good relationship, but it wasn't the same because we never really operated with them. You know, we were, as a helicopter pilot, if we went out on Kazavac or something like that, that was for the run-of-the-mill guys, obviously the perfect. But when it went into operations, then it was the Reckies or 3-2. And then sometimes the Parabats. Otherwise...
And Kufut was also here and there on some...
Look. Okay, there's an... I didn't talk about Kufut because Koos asked me about the army. With Kufut, we had an incredible relationship. It was really... Because most of our operations as a helicopter pilot, particularly an Alouette pilot, was with Kufut. You know, every day we were operating with Kufut. And we had a really, you know, with our Brigadier Hans Dreyer, and then, you know, Saki van Zyl, Eugene de Kock, and all those other guys. I mean, really professional operators, brilliant guys, fantastic to operate with. I'm just trying to think of names. The one guy became a helicopter pilot. Unfortunately, he had a crash and died. You know, they were just magic people to work with. We could work with them, we could relate to them, even if they're ZAAFs. I mean, ZAAFs. Zuid-Afrikaanse polisie. But Kufut was a different organization, clever guys, intelligent guys, and they had a broad vision of operations. So it was fantastic to operate with them. Yeah. That's most of our kills basically came from that.
It's a pity that we couldn't find one of them yet to speak to us here. It's a famous unit. But I can tell you this, I know quite a few of them, being in the police myself. And I talk of helicopter pilots and flight crew with the uttermost respect.
They're mistaken, Wes.
I mistaken. No. I mean, I remember, we used to stay in Ondongwa, and Kufut was based in Oshakati, and we used to have regular parties where we would shoot through to Oshakati, and the Air Force would lay on a Puma for the helicopter pilots to go through to Oshakati, because it's, what do they call this Afrikaans thing where we sort of mix together? Geez, I can't remember. I live in Joburg, and I'm working with Jungle, but I'm working with with a lot of...
Samenwerken.
Samenwerken. There's another word where they call...
Samen drinken.
That's getting close. Anyway, but just anyway.
Amataka. And
anyway, we have to some seriously good parties. And I mean, the beer used to flow, the whiskey used to flow, and then at around about 10, 11 o'clock, the Puma would pick us up and take us back to Oshakati. Now, just to give a bit of background for the people that may not understand, Oshakati and Ondongwa, there was about maybe 30 kilometers distance, apart from each other. And we couldn't travel at night. But now we couldn't have a party in the day because we're operationals, we're on standby and doing things like that. So the only time we could drink a beer was at night. And we used to shoot through to Oshakati and have a party there. And the only transport was the Puma helicopters, which was great. And yeah, we had some good times. And also, just to come back to, I remember one night, I was married at that stage, and my wife and my kids were living in Ondongwa. But once every sort of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, the Air Force arranged for all the married couples living in Ondongwa to shoot through to Oshakati to go to the steakhouse and have a meal. And I'll never forget the one night. We went to the steakhouse in Oshakati and had a meal there. And after we were given a time, you have to be finished by, say, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the evening, the meal must be finished. But when we were ready to leave, we were told to stand by. The Puma was on a Kazavat mission. Anyway, we sort of carried on a bit, and the steakhouse stayed open. We had a couple more drinks. And when that Puma came, it was full of blood. I mean, the guys had been on a Kazavat from some contact. And the wives just got in there, sat on the seats. There's blood on the floors. It's part of life. That was, that is something that people cannot understand, that when you live in that environment, that you just got to take things for what they are and make the best of it. And the women were amazing. They were the wives that were living up there. They looked after us. They looked after the troopies, after the other guys. Fantastic. In my house, the one evening, up there, I think, Eugene, you mentioned, or Angela, you mentioned the moonlighted Marienfors. Up there in Southwest, up on the border, there's no pollution. It's clear air. It's fantastic. And you get a full moon, it's like daylight. I remember one night at my house in Ondongwa, we had all the helicopter guys around. We had a dinner. There must have been about 20, 25 people. We put tables out, and there wasn't one electric light. There wasn't one candle. We were eating by moonlight. It was fantastic. And that's the sort of, after you get those sort of things in war, and we talk about the horrors. To me, it doesn't matter. But anyway, just to relax and have your families together and all the guys together eating in moonlight. It was fantastic, really.
Dennis, Do you remember the evening that that was pretty special, where we built a flight engineer swimming pool, and my late father still donated all the paving bricks, and we flew it up with a C-130, and we packed these around. The late Russell Dupree and myself and one or two of the other flight engineers decided we needed some palm trees, and we went to the Lapa at the back of the tree pub, and we took two of those palm trees down, and we dragged them past your house, and we planted them there at our swimming pool. And the next day, your first words to me were, "Steve, your eyes are very red, but thanks for the entertainment, because Zelda and I enjoyed to see the palm trees come dragging past you." You remember that?
Yeah. Just to give you an idea, we're sort of getting into soppy stuff here. My son, Justin, was born in my bed in Ondongwa, in our bed, because we're living in a bungalow. What happens is that if a child was born, then the Puma, the woman knows when she's coming, or it's supposed to know when she's coming. And then they get the Puma on standby, and then the guys get flown from Ondongwa into Oshakati with the woman, with the child and the labor and stuff like that. But now what happens, Zelda was one of these great, efficient, child-producing, I'm not going to say machine. Oh, she's a machine. She's a fantastic woman. And she woke me up. We'd been having a party. That was a night when Hojam Konye climbed the mast in Ondongwa. And we were watching Hojam Konye in his drunken state climb that bloody telephone tower in Ondongwa. Anyway, I got home quite late, and Dal says, "Listen, it's time." So I said, relax. We'll get the P1 standby and all that sort of run about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Says, "This baby's coming." So I've got to the ops room, and I called the doctor, or called the ops and said, "Listen, the baby's coming." And they said they get the doctor, but I don't know what the doctor was doing the night before. Maybe he was joining the pilots, sort of going through, the next day's procedures or something like that, but he never came. Well, he did come in the end, but in the end, Zelda, who's a midwife, she said to me, "This baby's coming. There's no time to get to Oshakati." So I said, "Fine, what must I do?" She's a midwife. So she told me what I must do. So I'm that little boy of mine, Justin, who's also a helicopter pilot now, as my eldest son. He was born with my hands. It's a question that says, "Zeli, what must I do?" He says, "Do this, do that, and catch him." In the end, I caught the placenta in the dog's bowl and carried it outside. And I used a coat hanger to, what else? She told me to do something. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. Anyway, the doctor came after a while, and then he took over, but it was too late. My child was born, my boy. Anyway, so while the doctor's cleaning up, then they get a telephone call, tring, 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 and it says, "Right, contact." It's Kufut. I go out for a Kufut contact. We get 2 kills. I come back. Now, Zelda is a good Afrikaans vrouw. She had cleaned the house. She had bathed the baby, cleaned the house, and then I took her to Oshakati and a bakkie after the contact. That's what our Afrikaans women are like. They're strong. And that's the type of woman that we had up there as wives, Air Force wives, Army wives, whatever. Incredibly strong and understanding. Without their support, we could never have done anything. Magic.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are the sort of things that I remember. Just things like that, from the support from the wives and the women and stuff like that. Fantastic. Anyway, my son is a helicopter pilot. I'm not going to say he's a good helicopter pilot, because I'm a good helicopter pilot. Other people might disagree.
All these things are subjective, eh?
Now, let me just scratch your head from here quickly. Is it satisfying that each?
Anyway, it's magic talking to you guys. The camaraderie is still around. Fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, let me, all my pilot's license out here, and just say to you, with what you do for a profession, I do for a hobby.
Stand by. What is that, Steve? A pilot's license?
Yeah.
How much did you pay for that?
Not as much as you paid for yours.
I paid nothing. The government paid. No, magic.
Is there something like a born pilot? Is such a thing possible?
You know, of
You
course,
get old pilots, you get bold pilots, but you don't get old, bold pilots.
No, he said a born pilot.
A born pilot.
Koos, ek dink jy kry definitief ouens met meer talent en minder talent. Maar it's not the flying ability that makes you a good or a bad pilot or a good or a bad doctor. It's the decisions you take in your head and the skills that you use your hands and feet with this stuff. You can be a good politician. It's because of the decisions you take. You can be a good fitter and turner because of the decisions you take and how you use your hands and feet. The same goes for flip and flying or bicycle riding or snipering or whatever you want to do.
Agreed.
Is 'n ding in die kop wat sê in this role you've got to take the best decisions, and that's what we were taught. Yeah, you can fly a helicopter, but that's a mechanical thing. You can drive a bicycle, and that's also a mechanical thing. But there's some who drive a bicycle much better than others.
I think that answers the question to me.
Yeah.
Of course, if I can come in here, it goes a lot about the passion. You know, you can be, it's like a guy with a university degree. And I think Elon Musk said something, I just read something about Elon Musk the other day. He says, it doesn't matter what you can have the great, the most, you can be the most qualified person in the world in terms of qualifications, but it goes about how you apply yourself, your experience, and how you manage to do things. It's the same with a pilot, it's the same with a flight engineer or a ground engineer, as Angela said. Passion. You got a passion and you got a mind that can analyze things and make it. Decision making is the biggest thing. Eh? If you can make a decision and follow through with that decision, whether it's right or wrong, it doesn't matter. You've made a decision. Whereas the average guy cannot make a decision. He will just drift along and that sort of stuff. And he'll be he will not make a mistake for sure. But is he brilliant or not? That's where the difference lies.
Thank you, Nellis. Maybe you guys can recall, I'm busy working on a rebuilding Puma 157. I don't know, most of you guys must have flown her. She was at Thunder City. And to get back to the passion, I'm lucky. I'm still living the passion of the aviation as a flight engineer. 157, I have in my logbook. I think, Steve, all of you might have it in your logbook. And she's now ZUPUM. And I'm still enjoying it every minute, every second of the day, just to be involved in the aviation. And it's a challenge to rebuild her, and it's good. It's great.
Yeah, it's wonderlijk, Eugene. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. It seems to me that we had a very interesting hour and a half here. I must thank you for that. You know, I sat here quietly and I watched all of you, and it was just like there's some brothership here between the air crews. Yeah,
just listen. We've got a, you know, myself. I'm here. I'm talking. The other three guys. We had a good relationship, really good relationship. And I'm not saying it was just us. I had good relationship with a lot of other people. But the fact is that we were part of an operation that was very special. So it makes us, in my mind, my opinion, it makes us special. There's very other people that have accomplished what we accomplished, and not that we planned it. It just happened because, let's face it, during that operation, the shit hit the fan. There was lots of fire, put it as RPGs. There was a lot of small arms fire, 12 14 5s and SAM 7s. So I think there were about 3 or 4 SAM 7s launched. And we still here. That is fantastic. That's the
Thank
main
you.
thing. We can still
Thank
talk, we can still here. And one thing, because of and here I'm maybe beating my chest, and because we are professional. We were professional, as Angela mentioned, we professionally trained, and we were professional. We might have done some things which other people say that was not too professional, but what the hell? This is war. Look at the guys in World War II, what they were doing. And the RAF won the war. And I suppose the same thing goes for the Luftwaffe. The guys were getting drunk and they were chilling out just to get rid of those tensions during the day. You know, we were living under some incredibly stressful situations. You know, when you get shot at every day in your life and you see your guys dying, you need a release. And we found release. We had fun. We found good things. Some people might disagree with us, but what the hell? We're still together and we still laugh and we can talk to each other. That's the main thing. Camaraderie. Brothers in, what's it? Band of brothers or that sort of whatever, but it's like.
Do you know Rebecca Kotze? Ek gaan net vir jou 'n klein storie vertel. Ek het 'n dogter en sy kom eendag met 'n ou hier aan. En ek sê vir haar, Sannie, wie is hierdie ou? Sy sê nee, hy is Frank Pretorius. Sit by die swembad. Sê Frank Pretorius, ja, hier te kort en daar te lank en kom agter. Ek sê en ek vra toe vir hom uit, hierdie ou gaan nou met my dogter uit. So you need to know who this guy is because you're going to pump him full of shotgun shells or you're going to kind of accept him after you interrogated him for a while. Hy sê, nee, maar sy pa is Frans Pretorius. Nou, Neil knows Frans Pretorius. Frans Pretorius is 'n vlamgat pilot. So I said, is dit die Frans Pretorius met die maarbeentjies? Jy sê, Frankie, yes, my pa is marerig. Ek sê, het jou pa Mirages gevlieg? Hy sê, ja, my pa het Mirages gevlieg. Ek sê, wel, kom, ek gaan my logboek haal, want jou pa het my formasie toets gedoen toe ek 'n instrukteur was. Ek gaan haal die boek, daar so sit Frans Pretorius. Now I have a son-in-law who is the son of a flippin' vlamgat that took a Mirage F1 back with a missile up his ass.
Wow.
You ask who the best pilots are, whether it's a helicopter pilot or a vlamgat pilot, they're all good at it.
Yeah. It's the band of brothers that stand together and the camaraderie that is built thereafter. No matter what it is that we say to each other, wherever we are, a joke brings the smile to the face, and the memories come flooding back of all the good times we had, and many there were.
Steve, when last did I speak to you?
Sorry, Angela.
For sure.
When last did I speak to you?
I was trying to work out now.
30 years. 40 years?
I did a staff visit when I was the assistant manager for the C-47s, and I was popping around Denell somewhere. I think I bumped into
Brothers forever.
But apart from that, it's like Neil. It doesn't matter what the gap is in between.
Yeah.
You just pick up as if you saw each other yesterday. It's one of those things.
That is correct. That is correct. I mean, Nellis and I bumped into each other in Cape Town, and I said I'd like to meet up with you, and we met up at.
Doesn't matter at all.
Yeah, it was lovely seeing you again, chatting to you, and we had a couple of drinks. He's hobbling around with a broken hip or a leg or whatever it was. I can't remember.
That are correct. I still need to speak to Eugene sometime, man. Eugene, ons moet hier gaan drink, nee.
Ja, ons moet. Ek is nou 'n bietjie in Wellington. Ek operate lekker, maar ek kom terug Pretoria to the long weekend to see my children. As you know, my wife passed away suddenly in September last year. It was a big shock for me, but yes, I'll be back in Pretoria and on the long weekend. Dan moet ons maar 'n wyntjie of 'n biertjie gaan vat.
Ek dink miskien is dit 'n baie goeie roep daai nee. Ek
En
kan
jy
nou
kan
nie
ook-
vyf-
Dankie Angela.
maar ek sien jy draf deesdae 15 flipping kilos.
Yeah, normally I do 17, but I've been out of it for a while.
Ek gebruik nog steeds die kar of router blades nee.
Ja.
Oh,
Let me know if you guys get together, because that would be nice to sit there. And Angela, you can provide the beer. I'm broke.
There you go.
Right, but I will provide the beer.
that's why I'm working again.
You guys can come and visit me here and I will provide the beer and the balls.
Excellent.
Well,
And-
it's an open invitation to all of you. If you're ever in Canada, you've got a place to sleep, you've got free beer and free food.
Yeah, but you
Yeah,
people.
but you
in
must
Canada-
provide the air ticket, Steve.
But also, the
You've
Canada's
got
a
two
police
pilots,
state.
man. Fly over.
We don't want to come to a police state. We want to be in South Africa where you can, you know, if you get caught by the police, you can always negotiate over a lunch or something like that.
True.
Steve,
Yes, sir.
do you watch Last Man Standing?
Oh, actually, I don't watch much television. I just make a lot of cut myself.
There's a there's a Canadian inside there that is typical Canadian. He's not a capitalist. He wants to give everything for free and all those things. It's a flippin' good program, and he has a pot shop. So
Oh, yeah.
he sells cannabis for. You should watch it because you Canadians are all the flippin' same.
Yeah, but then Nellis is out of his sorts, man, because he should be here then.
That's why I went and landed under a tree in the middle of a flippin' contact area.
Yes. But lucky they had good top cover.
Yeah, thanks for that. But anyway, you spoiled our piss, because if it wasn't, listen, we landed there trying to relax and we were trying to sort of get in there clandestine. But with you guys circling over us, they obviously realized something was going on below, and that's why they started shooting RPGs. If
Yeah.
you guys had gone off somewhere else and left us alone, we would have had a peaceful time and chilled out on the ground.
Like if we've gone somewhere else to refuel, it would have been better.
Well, look, remember one thing. We put on the silent mode on the Alouette like Airwolf. So nobody knew we were there until you brought the attention.
You know, and Neil, you know Sergei Bobir. Sergei
Yes.
Bobir.
Yes.
My very long-term Russian friend. He says, "Muni kak prat ni."
Mooi.
Moenie kyk praat nie.
Anyway, that's it. Yeah.
Well,
Ons is nou besig om baie kak te praat, regtig.
well, I must say it
Excellent.
was enjoyable to hear you all talking with cock for bills. It was humor is really something to
Ons praat
enjoy.
bietjie kyk.
It's really nice to have done this.
It was actually by pure fluke that I ended up chatting to Chris, but it was very interesting after the fact, and it's amazing the people that come crawling out of the woods just to come and say, you know, it's really nice to know that you were there, you know. So I also buried the past for so long, and the whole purpose that I wrote a book was for the kids, because they didn't know what we were doing. They had no idea where we were going. This was nice, you know, and I thought it best that we continue the discussion to have a round table like this, because it's fun. It's fun just to sit and poke fun at each other.
I understand it better, so thanks a lot.
You must welcome, and it's really, really good to see you again, Angela. It's been a long time.
Me too, to see you. I'm looking forward to seeing you, Gene.
There's one thing we need to do. There's one thing There's
Now,
one
one
thing
thing-
we need to do.
What is that?
Can
young
you
man?
hear me?
Yeah, is get a better internet.
Yes, we need to do. Can you hear me, Steve? We're choppers, we're a long, way from home.
We
hide
the
the
daughters,
daughters,
so leave us alone. We decide,
Think when
so
we
think till we are so fuck off and die. Sing high, sing low.
wherever you
Wherever
go.
you go, we chop
Wherever we go.
No, it's not going to work with your internet.
No, it's
The shopper won't
Neil.
never
Say
say no.
Say no! You have to fix your freaking internet, Carl, if you want to do that again.
No, you mustn't drink that 80-degree vodka. Samago.
No, he talked about Stroa
Yeah,
rum.
but
Stroa
I'm
rum,
not
you can't drink that shit.
You can run a chopper on it.
No, you're probably going to
Listen,
burn it.
guys, I have to go now. I'm sorry, but I have things to do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Yes, thanks. Nice chatting to you guys.
Thank you, Nellis. Thanks very much for your
Scotty, you didn't
participation.
knock no time, man.
And I apologize for forgetting.
Hulle sê nou kom
It turned out to be nice.
It's
Thanks a lot.
van Canada en van oral
Yes.
Switserland en al flipping lot, man. Okay.
Well, internet, we've come to the end of this recording. I apologize. At some stage, we had a bit of problems with sound. Tried my best to edit over it and around it. But it's still a miracle of technology if you think about it. I mean, I'm in Switzerland. Steve would be in Canada, British Columbia, and then, of course, the others were in South Africa. And if you think we could get all together, I think we've done well, and we've done the best we could. And I wish to thank all the gentlemen who spoke to us today. These guys were really the A-team. I think they were the best of the best, and they were always there. Whenever they got called, they arrived, and they did what was needed. I've asked both Neil, Nellis, as well as Angelo, as well as Eugene, that we can get their life stories also recorded. Once that happens, I'll let you know. For the rest of you, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your service. If you want to speak to me, tell the story so that our grandkids one day can know what granddad did, you're welcome. Just contact me and we'll do it as quickly as we can. And when I'm in South Africa in May and you wish to see me and have a coffee somewhere, rooibos tea for me. I don't drink coffee, I don't take alcohol, I don't even eat meat. I'm vegan. Yes, that's what happens when you marry a foreigner. But you're welcome. Just contact me. I would love to see all of you. Thank you for your support and God bless.